Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live stream interview with Seth Parker Woods. I'm excited to be talking to him. He is coming to our area to play with the St. Louis Symphony, doing a double concerto with the orchestra, April 10th, 11th, and 12th, and agreed to come on. He also has a new album out today, which we're also going to talk about and listen to a little bit, called Ordinary Things. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm glad you're here to hear about the album and listen to it with us a little bit. Seth, welcome. So glad that you're able to be here.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to chatting.
Yeah. So the new album out today. All right. Where all can people listen to it, actually?
On pretty much every single streaming platform,
Okay.
the big box ones and also some of the more niche, smaller ones, you can check it out as well. Yeah.
Oh, it's fantastic. So ordinary things, to just jump us in there. Like, how does something like that come to be? How do you decide to make an album? How do you decide what tracks go on it? Like, how does that, it's always something I'm very curious about.
Yeah, well, I've been recording for over a decade now. And so this is a kind of a special record where it's kind of my first time really doing this kind of Seth and Friends
Okay.
collaboration. And it's one I've wanted to do for some time. And this is actually my very first record with Apple and Platoon.
Hmm.
So I have quite a few more records to come. But this is the very
Okay.
like the first premiere recording with coming out for them, um, and I knew for years now that I wanted to record the Rachmaninoff Sonata, as I've been playing it for about over 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a work that has kind of lived with me, or I've lived with it, I should say, for a long time. And the Walker is quite special for me because I knew Walker
Mm.
um, earlier in my career, later in his career. He was about 90 when I first met him.
Oh, wow.
Uh, Still writing, still
That's
writing.
incredible.
Um,
Huh.
and kind of one of the last things, I talked to him about a month before he passed away because I was working on his cello concerto and I had been kind of bringing the sonata back for to put on recitals, and he was like, kind of one of his last wishes was just he just wants people to just hear this piece because it's a work that comes quite rather early in his career. This is 1956, this sonata.
Hmm.
And so, but still feels so fresh. But like one of the last things, and the thing that I said I promised was to continue playing it, but also to eventually to record it. So I'm kind of just trying to make true on that promise
Oh,
in a
wow.
way. And so it's it's a special work for me because of the relationship there. So it was when I knew I wanted to kind of compare this rather kind of post-war work, really, um, uh, War II, and looking also from there, looking at the Rachmaninoff and kind of the conversation between those two composers, but also these two very special works, especially for the Rachmaninoff, because this is actually the very last kind of chamber, like large scale chamber work that he would ever write, and it also
Mm.
aligns in the same year that he's writing his like infamous second piano concerto. So they're kind of just months apart within the
Oh,
premiere.
wow.
And then with the Tanya Leon, I've known her since I was 18 years old. She eventually kind of became like a big kind of mentor for me and friend of mine, and concertized with her. Um, and I eventually played this work with her, coached this work with her. So it was something I really wanted to do, and I knew Julia Bullock as a brilliant soprano that I had already worked with in a different capacity, but thought her voice would be perfect for this piece. So let's try to do it. And so I thought all of these works could kind of come together as kind of these pieces or books from my library of life in that way. So it's kind of a celebration of multiple chapters and how they've kind of shaped me and
Oh, wow.
shaped some of my collaborators as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's very, very cool. You mentioned that this piece comes at the same time as his symphony. Do you ever, and I know you also teach, do you, how actually does that inform the performance? Because you kind of mentioned that, like you're listening to this other work that's not because we get so in our tunnel vision with what we're learning, especially when we're students. Like,
Yeah.
how much art do you listen to those other works that are kind of coming along at the same time and letting it inform the sonata?
Not all the time, but for this specific work, I think earlier on when I was really starting to learn, like really learn this piece,
Hmm.
it was kind of advised that I go and listen to the piano concerto because I think so much. I mean, this piece is a mammoth work for the cello, but
Right.
it really is like a piano. It's another piano concerto in so many ways,
Oh,
with
wow.
a beautiful hovering cello line. And so you really see kind of how he's using similar kind of gestural and or harmonic material from the second piano concerto as he's writing the cello sonata, the piano and cello sonata. I mean, it's a heavy piano part in some of the best ways possible. He doesn't mimic any of the same melodic material that you hear in the piano concerto number two, but you get this same robust feeling. And then the very first performance was actually him at the piano with one of his dear
Oh,
best
wow.
friends, actually the best man at his wedding, who the sonata is dedicated to. So they
Oh,
premiered
wow.
this together
Oh,
in
wow.
Moscow. So I think of it really as this sonata of friendship. Yeah.
Huh.
And so I've kind of always held that, and then was the idea when it came to recording it, which is why there's two pianists on this record. I really wanted to record it with my old duo partner, Andrew Rosenblum, who we've
Hmm.
concertized this sonata specifically all, for years. And we just live in it in such an interesting way. Sometimes I've gone into the studio to record things, and the works are still kind of new for me. But I've found that the best possible recordings have been when I have, well, all of the artists have been living in the work for quite a while. You just
Mm.
breathe it in a very different way that feels so much more humane and organic. And I'm not as worried about, oh my God, did we get that measure right? But more so, are we kind of moving and feeling? So I hope that people get this sense that
Hmm.
this kind of this uniform of players really know each other very well and know this work very well. And so as I've been listening back to it, because we recorded this some time ago now, that it really, for me, it feels like it really does come across like this outfit of players really
Hmm.
know each other very well and know our tendencies and what we really want to say in the work. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Shall we listen to a little bit of it?
Yeah, sure.
What? How about the Walker? You want to start there? Let's do.
Yeah, we
Let's.
can start with the first movement. Yeah.
Oops. Go back to the beginning. Oh, whoops! I'm not playing the Walker. My bad. That was Rachmaninoff. We're gonna get to that in a second. Here's the Walker. Thank you, everybody. wow, the pier, you're absolutely right. The piano is huge in there. Do you think, you ever wonder if the ability of the composer to actually, because you said he performed it himself at the premiere, I wonder if that changes how they write for the piano.
I think so. I mean, both Walker and Rachmaninoff were both amazing concert pianists in their own right, and I think actually, a lot of Walker's kind of earlier music he was writing really was for solo piano, or piano and voice, or piano and violin. His son is still. Gregory Walker is a really phenomenal violinist. So there's actually a work of his he
Okay.
wrote for, but many of Walker's kind of piano works he wrote for himself, or he wrote for his sister, who was also just absolutely like dynamic pianist, like concert pianist.
Oh
So,
wow.
and he had like this crazy like 11th or 12th span, and I mean, he was a very towering figure
Wow.
and huge hands.
Hmm.
So like a lot of the writing, I remember like talking to Connor. He's like, "How does anyone play this?" I was like, well, I think it really was written for Walker himself, and maybe him or his sister. She also had really big hands. I was told.
Well,
So you
I would also
feel
say
that.
this. I would also say the same thing about the cello playing. Like, how do you pull that off with all of those high double stops, lyrical things? It's like, are you sure you didn't have two cellos like overdubbing in there? I mean, it's like that is some wild stuff you're doing in there. Tell us about
Oh,
that.
how I wish there was another set of hands.
I'm just
It's
listening to it,
tricky.
going, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, and it is thorny. It is thorny. There's this beautiful lyricism that is there, I think, from that period, but it also has this very angularness even in the harmonic structures, which makes it kind of pulls your ear in a way because
Mm,
kind of ways that you're not expecting the cello to go or even the piano to go. But I mean, I've been playing this piece for a long time now, but I remember early on, I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. And but it sits. It really does. Like once you get it, it really does sit in the hand so well. And that
wow.
was like one thing I always like commended Walker on. I was like, for you not being a cellist
Really?
whatsoever, I was like, you really write so well
Wow.
for the
Huh.
um, and it was amazing. I mean, this piece specifically, was written for a different cellist who was very close to Walker, who never actually premiered it. It
Mm,
pulled out at the very last minute. Janos Starker jumped in to premiere this piece at the Library of
really?
Congress. Yeah, who
Oh,
has had like a massive hands also.
right. Wow.
So it was
Okay.
Starker actually that premiered the work originally back in 1957. Um,
Okay.
and then it like sat dormant for like 20 years
Oh,
and
wow.
then it kind of started resurfacing. People weren't playing the whole sonata. They discovered the second movement, which of course is so evocative and
Hmm.
beautiful. And people were just playing that as an encore for years.
Really?
And then more cellists started picking it up again and playing it, and Walker even at the piano recorded it with a brilliant Italian cellist. And then Emmanuel Feldman, who's based in the Boston area, then recorded it and worked with Walker for extensively for some time as well.
Hmm.
And Astrid Schween of the Juilliard Quartet also worked with Walker. We did this whole like online virtual seminar early on in the pandemic, just really breaking this piece apart
Oh,
from
wow.
four different cellists who had all had a relationship with Walker and this
Hmm.
sonata, and kind of just talking about our experiences and looking at the score and looking at like the
Huh.
ways we've interpreted the piece over time. And it still exists on YouTube, and you can just Google and search for it, and you'll
Oh, wow.
find it. Yeah.
We'll find that and we'll put a link to it in the description of this video later
Yeah.
on. Yeah, yeah. So make sure you
Yeah.
check that out. Okay, now you said that about the second movement. I want to hear it now.
Okay.
Wow, that's so gorgeous. I just had to let it keep playing there. It's really, really gorgeous playing. Yeah, it's really
Thank
fantastic.
you. Yeah.
It's such good stuff. I see why that one became, you said it became an encore for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Did he, I mean, what is, you mentioned a little bit of it. Is there anything else like that he mentioned? Like, it's so great to be able to talk to you who had a direct connection to him.
Mm.
Um, did he ever say anything else about why he poured all of this into this piece? It's just like so much, like you said, there's things that pull at your ear. There's stylistic things from the period. There's a lot of beauty in it. It's like, it's very interesting. Yeah.
It's like yes, yes and no. um, but for this specific movement, the second movement, this is kind of like the final draft. There was an earlier draft when he
Mm.
was still a student, and there was someone he fancied. So he kind of delivered, this movement as part of the sonata as like a love letter, like an offering, and hoping, that she would like, like love it and then fall in love with, the dashing composer and everything would go well. It,
Interesting.
it did not go well. So as you kind of work
Been
through
there.
this movement,
Been there.
well, he tried. He really tried. I commend him. And so it has this kind of sense of unrequited love as the piece like ends on the second and the latter half of that movement. But inside of it, there is this longing that is in there. So I think he in the revisions, you feel that sense of tension, but there's also that evocative beauty in the lines as well. And it's interesting for him to kind of start it in such a slow and sparse way, and then midway through, you almost think of it as like a recitative in the beginning, very broken down, and then we begin this beautiful kind of exchange between the cello and the piano.
Oh, wow.
Um, but and then the last movement is really kind of his. I've always thought of like as kind of this shorthand way of blending these worlds of like Western contemporary music, um, alongside like the very much so the American school of that time of the 40s, 50s, 60s. That's
Huh.
super heady in that way, and you get all of that, but also with all of this amazing blues and jazz influences that you very much so feel in this last movement, and it's
Oh, wow.
quite it's a raucous, and it's a lot of work for both. Like it's unrelenting for both parts, counterparts, because we're playing off of each other the whole time. Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
not slow.
Yes, it is marked Allegro. We're going to hear it in a second. Then we're going to get to some of the voice stuff because it's also really, really, really gorgeous and unique. But yes, Allegro Presto. Let's give it a whirl here.
Okay, buckle up.
That's right. Wow.
A lot going on there.
That's that is a lot of influences. I mean, there was like, I mean, there's like moments where it almost sounds minimalistic,
Yeah,
and then those scales like at the end
yeah,
where you're like playing off each other and running all over the instrument. It's
yeah.
like that's incredible. Wow.
It's a fun piece. It's a workout for some of my. I've been touring it earlier this year, and so we did a concert here in LA, and some of my students from my studio came and they were like, "Hey, they really have you working." I was like, they're like, "What a crazy movement!" It really is. Yeah, it really. There's no time for like, oh, I think I'll take some time here.
It's like,
It's really angular on the grid.
wow.
Yeah.
It's like when you tell them you're practicing, it's not just to make them practice, and you really are actually.
Uh, I'm
Yeah.
really doing the work.
Yeah, it's really happening, people. It's really happening. That's funny. Oh. Now this album, which is like you said, it's just it's got various things. It also has voice on it.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. Well, the first one on here is called Shelter.
Yeah, so the concept wise, I was really looking at a way of trying to kind of find works that could complement each other under the guise of adornment and lyricism, looking at Lita, looking at the American Songbook or influences from that in many ways. And so I discovered this work as part of a larger kind of vocal cello piano cycle that Andre Previn wrote back in 1990. Um, and which was for the Chamber Music Society of Lincoln Center. And the text that you hear is written by the late celebrated poet and novelist and laureate Toni Morrison. So
Mm,
it's like a set of four poems of hers that then Previn set to music, and he has
oh
such
wow.
a he's always had this rich palette for writing, especially for the voice, but also his instrumental work, his cello sonata, which I later came to know, and it was recorded back in '96, I believe, with Yo-Yo Ma and Previn at the piano. And it's just such a great work. And we decided to do this work on there and then kind of paired it in kind of contrast with the work by Tanya Leone,
Hmm.
which was made famous by the American soprano Dawn Upshaw. And
Okay.
that piece has kind of been in my ear for probably 10 years. And I was like, I want to record this one day. And so these two pieces felt like they worked so well to kind of follow in the line
Hmm.
with Walker, and then follow in the line with Rachmaninoff. Um, yeah.
Oh wow. Let's listen. Yeah, let's hear a little bit here. Oh wow, it's so gorgeous, and it's going to be one of my new favorite things to listen to along with the Walker. You know, it feels like, I don't know, it feels like two in very independent things, not just because it's voice and cello, just the writing, just the music itself. It feels like two very independent things coming together to make up part of the whole. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
It's really gorgeous stuff. Yeah, and of course
Thank
fabulous
you.
playing. Yeah. Is
Thank
it
you.
just, does anything change, when you think about it's you and voice and piano versus just you and piano? Does something, does there is there
Oh,
is there
yeah.
any kind of thought process that goes along with that? It's like, do I change my vibrato? Or is it more complex than that? Or
It's all the things. Especially especially since it's not vocalese in that. I mean, there is vocalese in this specifically in this work, but there's so much text. And where does the cello line take precedence? Where is it in direct
mm,
duo formation or in trio formation with the other two entities? Or where is it more so like the composer has asked the cello really to kind of underscore material? And so kind of navigating those things. How do I create kind of lyricism in the way that's less like a cello and more like a vocalist? So
mm,
things that I've spent years really working on and working with different vocalists in that way. So it really feels like there is more conversation and not just, not that I'm going to say this, not like continuo playing, but not that
right.
continuo playing cannot be in conversation with the voice, but in this way that it really kind of is a tug of war between all the different entities. And I think it really is even more on display here in this work than in the Leon. But it feels like I've always felt like in this work, the cello always feels like the subconscious of
Mm.
the narrator. Yeah.
It does feel like a conversation. Like everybody's contributing something, and there's independent parts that like make up this beautiful thing. Yeah, let's hear a little bit of the Leon now. Get down here. Wow, it's so gorgeous. And I would remind everybody, wherever you're listening to this, because I know when you're on um, Apple iTunes, you can see lyrics, these beautiful songs that have these amazing, beautiful text to them, so that you can follow along there, especially like, because you're talking about how, like, when does the text, like, when does the cello kind of serving that, and when does the text change, and when should I change. It's a great reminder that that all of those things should be happening. It's so gorgeous. And you said you've performed or toured with some of these pieces uh, previously before recording them. How did you, especially with like the vocal things, how did you come to know these pieces initially, and just people you wanted to play with, or?
Yeah, well, with Connor and Julia Bullock, Connor Hannock is the pianist on both of these vocal works, as well as the Walker and Julia Bullock. They're both celebrated, brilliant musicians that are concertizing internationally, but are based here in the States. Julia is though based in Munich,
Mm.
Germany, but she's from St. Louis actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's originally from St.
Oh, wow.
Louis. Uh, um, but we'd all worked together initially as part of a collective called the American Modern Opera Company, which
Mm.
is based in New York, and we've done so many concerts together.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's kind of how, but I'd known Julia's voice from other recordings and seeing her sing at the Metropolitan Opera. And Connor, I knew of him while I had been living in Europe. I just knew him from recordings I had heard, both as solo but also in chamber music. And so when the opportunity came to start working with him, originally we just worked together as a duo and doing concerts, and then eventually I was like, who could fit this format and do this in such a way that they're able to do so many different styles and ways, and they're
Mm.
comfortable, like very comfortable, and they're great to work with.
Right.
And so I posed it to both of them, and they both said yes. And
Hmm.
I was like, it would be essentially these projects would lead up to a tour, and so
Okay.
we've kind of wrapped the first part of that tour of many of these works, plus many others that we kind of fleshed out a bigger program
Okay.
back in January, and then we'll do another leg next spring. That'll be kind of mostly the East Coast, and then we go to Europe to do some concerts. But we kind of really worked together. I mean, these pieces were very much so set as works I wanted to record for this specific album, and then on the tour we kind of expanded that and
Mm.
really got a lot of feedback and invitations for new works from both of the other collaborators. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And of course, we want to talk about the upcoming concert and take a couple of questions here. But of course, the Rachmaninoff Sonata. There's a lot, four movements to unpack there. We're gonna do it in
Yeah.
5 minutes. No, I'm just kidding.
You can
That's
start
not
with the
gonna.
third movement.
Right. Yeah, yeah. If you're a cellist out there, you're watching this, you've never heard. I mean, the Rachmaninoff. It is a staple of our repertoire. It is an absolute gorgeous piece. Actually, the first time I ever heard it live was David Finkel in Wuhan. We're doing concerts
Mm-hmm.
in my hometown of Montgomery, Alabama. They were there because Emerson was on the Celebrity Series in Tuscaloosa, and so they were doing this run out duo, and playing. Yeah, it was really fabulous, fantastic
Amazing.
concerts. Yeah, so if you ever get to hear it live, or if you ever get to hear, now, do you publish tour dates on your website?
Yeah, they're all there. They're all updated as frequently as we can, but they're all current for the season. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll make sure we put a link to your website there. So yes, let's play a little bit of the Andante here, because for those that have never been introduced to this, it is one of the great the greatest hits here of Rachmaninoff. It's really fantastic. I mean, of course, I mean, and it's just, it's such a gorgeous, I mean, and you do it so well. It's just like, it's really fantastic to listen to, and to listen to you
Thank
play it.
you.
I hope I get to hear you play it live one day. And I think it's one of those things, well, the Walker too, I'm sure as I get to know it more, I hear something different now and I listen to that. I think because we're sitting here talking about all the surprises in the Walker and how there's all these different influences thing. And I was listening to this Rachmaninoff just now and thinking, boy, there's more surprises in there than I've noticed before. Like it like goes here and then it like does this and just looks like wow, it's just like ears are now turned on differently. I love that, and it's like it's melancholy and optimistic at the same time, and you bring that out so it's so gorgeous. All right.
Thank
And
you.
now for something completely different, as they as they say, from from that, you are visiting our town here.
I am.
You are coming in April to play a new work, a co-commissioned double concerto, brand new work. Somebody you probably get like 30 seconds of rehearsal with. How does that even like manifest itself? That's a whole other reality that us mere mortals don't know about.
Yeah, so this work is by composer Carlos Simon, who's I've known him for a long time, and his star has just
Okay.
skyrocketed. He's
Hmm.
really an amazing composer, and I've played many of his solo works or works he's written for me, some of his chamber music as well, and to just fallen in love with just what he's doing and how he's writing across a wide breadth of medium, but especially I find like his writing for the orchestra is so strong and so vivid.
Hmm.
It's just amazing to kind of witness it. Um, and So I approached him about the idea of writing this double concerto. This is like I commission a lot of work for like new works. But this is the very first double concerto, so this was like really like being very ambitious. But I so trust Carlos, and so my dear friend Hilary Hahn, violinist, we'd concertized for years together, and I brought it to her first. I was like, "What do you think about um, approaching Carlos to like have him write for us, like in this setting?" Because we played his trio works before, and that had all gone so well. But we really wanted something we could like really like sink into and like really challenge him also in a way. And he never also has never written a double concerto before,
Mm.
so this really was a first for him as well, but also very exciting. And so we started touching base with many of our kind of like uh, contacts, orchestras, conductors we'd worked with in the past to try to find a consortium of orchestras that would kind of sign on to
Mm.
say, yes, we're going to support this work and support you all,
Oh,
and
okay.
also be part of like the premiering kind of like consortium group. And so St. Louis is one of those with Stefan Deneuve.
Wow. And so how many rehearsals, I'm just curious how many do you like, what does that process look like when you come here, like because it is a new work, and then how much, since you're also in the process of commissioning this, like how much back and forth is there with you and the composer as you're preparing this and he's writing it?
Oh yeah, quite a lot actually. Carlos tends to kind of, at least with this work specifically, he has kind of up front kind of said, send me some of the like the works you love most, like the
Mm.
writing for it, so you can just get an idea of kind of where I'm at. But of course, he's seen me play his works. He's seen me play other works, both of classical and contemporary works. So
Okay.
he has quite a good understanding of my playing, and as well as Hillary's playing, which can be a recipe, a scary recipe, because that means he's like, "Oh, we'll just write anything," and I'm like, "Oh my god." um, or write everything he wants to write in many ways. But as we started to kind of get sketches of ideas, he would send them to me, send me recording like mock-ups, but he also would send me like just sketch notations to kind of see
Mm.
how this is working, how this sits in the hand, how it sits on the cello. So just to kind of help him. And I work in this way with many other composers as well, as I have in the past. And then he'll go quiet, and then he'll just write, and then he'll like, here's the first full draft, or he'll send, this is the
Okay.
first draft of this movement or these two movements, and then I work through them and like point out certain things or things I'm really loving, and so it almost kind of becomes kind of this artist spec designed concerto
Hmm.
for these specific players. So he's writing for these players, kind of to their strengths and things he really wants to push us as well. Um, and then he kind of goes away after he talks to us about it. And then we gotta get the final version of the score.
Okay.
And then we just work like mad, which I'm still working right now, trying to just perfect these things. And this work is huge because it's 5 movements plus a cadenza.
Oh wow.
So it's got some teeth
Oh
to
wow.
it.
Wow.
And so,
Well,
but along the way, I've been sending video like little snapshots of different points in the concerto, especially in the cadenza, to kind of see if this is kind of in the direction in the line, or if what I'm doing is working my ideas with the material. Yeah,
okay. Wow. Well, I'm excited to hear it. I think
me
it's
too.
I,
Because I'm working from a MIDI most of the time until, so
that's right.
it's always different once you finally hear the whole orchestra and how they're treating the material, how the conductor, and we get to rehearse, just Hillary and I with a rehearsal pianist, and then we do a rehearsal just with Stefan before we even get
I
to the
see.
orchestra. And then we have
Really?
2 rehearsals with the orchestra. Then we have
Okay.
like one big open invited rehearsal with
That's
just
right.
invited public, and then we just have concert, like 3 concerts in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a question that always comes up is like, how do you prepare something for which there are no previous rehearsals? And even with the MIDI, like you mentioned, because it's changing, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
of course, hopefully it's not changing right up until the time of the performance, but
No, no,
I guess
no.
it could, if
It
you wanted it
and
to.
it has. Yeah, I have been in
Oh
that
wow.
in that chair.
Oh wow. Wow, wow, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Yeah, it's a completely different thought process. Well, yeah, I'm excited to hear it, and I know you're excited to hear it. And we will also make sure we link, for our folks here in town. If you don't know how to find that information, I'll make sure to put a link there to that specific event. Um, there with the symphony. Um, do we have time for a couple of cello questions, and maybe we could tie them into the piece here? Um, one thing I have, which is which is not just specifically cello. It's my passion project that I always ask people about. And actually, my question now is inspired by this interaction here. Um, it's a very open-ended question. You can answer it multiple ways. But as I'm sitting here listening to this, it's like, man, I'm hearing you talk about meeting George Walker and knowing him, and hearing him talk about his music. And now I'm listening to this music differently. Now I'm listening to Rachmaninoff differently because of this now, for lack of a better word, emotional connection. And like our emotions and all of this experience. This is like a new experience, and now I feel more connected. And I hope everyone watching out there feels more connected to it. What what is that? What is it that this business about connection that helps us to hear? And I ask it as because I'm curious, but also as a teacher here on the channel and teaching people to play an instrument. Like, you know our a technique is based on our ability to hear ourselves, right? And like, how can we get to a different level of hearing ourselves better? And how is the music, or the emotional part, the connection part that we tend to kind of ignore, how is that connected to us hearing things differently, and ultimately
Mhm.
hearing ourselves better so we can play better? Is
Yeah.
what I'm after.
Yeah. Easy question.
I know. There's like probably 20 questions in there. I'm sorry. I do that. I'm guilty. Guilty pleasure.
No, no, no. So I think in so many ways, I think especially when you're starting out, but even not so much, especially if you're thinking about new pieces or works that you're discovering for the first time that have been written and many have championed it. Um, you go after the technical for so long until that just situates itself there in your body. Um, and then I think beyond that, beyond just being a technician within the work, it's like what how do I say something? And then am I saying something that feels like organically like me, or does it feel like I am mimicking something that I've heard before? And I think in some ways that takes time to start to find yourself in the work. And I've always been a firm believer in using your life experiences, using other kind of creative mediums as well to kind of help to start for you to start kind of navigate what it is that kind of draws you to the work or to help you understand better the composer, especially if the composer has been long gone in the case of Rachmaninoff or Mozart or Beethoven or Schubert, whatever. Um, to you use kind of the guidance of your teachers or those artists that you really connect with in their interpretations of the work. And then I think to really start to dig deeper inside of the music and how can I start to kind of bring out these ideas or this storytelling. I've always said that we are musicians, but really at the core of what we do, it's storytelling.
Mhm.
It's like sonic storytelling is really
Mhm.
what we do. So how do we create narratives? I know a lot of teachers try to help students in that way to kind of find a narrative base, even if it's on the most simplistic level for what this moment in the piece could be, what the piece as a whole could be, or to kind of break it up and segment it in a way that is actually more tangible.
Hmm. You mentioned this, yeah, the balance between being a technician and being a storyteller. And like, this current piece where you're going and sharing things with the composer and they're sharing things with you. Do you think the composer, because you mentioned him, pushing both you and Hillary, to new heights. Do you think what's that balance between us being a little bit self-indulgent with what feels really cellistically awesome, and the composer pushing us? Does that little push from something we didn't think of, does that help us have a story to tell? Maybe I don't know. It's something that just occurred to
Uh,
you.
it can, it totally can, or you can just say, forget about it. Actually, I'm gonna do this.
It's like, no, you have to take that out. That's it. That's that.
Well, but I think it is valid. There's total agency on the front of the performer and the interpreter to
Mm,
make some choice, like to start to make some choices, and not I'm
mm,
just following the text, which you should definitely follow the text as it is. But then once you're in that material, you've lived in that material. Like, what do I really want to say? Or it's you get the feeling, and sometimes it's you can't really name it, but you get the feeling that the music is moving you to do said thing, said gesture, or to interpret the note in this way, or to interpret the gesture in this way that feels most personal and most organic to you. But you can still have those conversations. And I've definitely been at odds with the composer, like living composers, before because I'm like, I hear you. I totally hear you. I understand what you're wanting to do. However, and I'm like, it's still not working. I mean, when I was much younger and more hot headed, I was like, of course, yeah, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me. I'll play it however you want to play it with you, like when I'm in front of you. But when I get on that stage, I'm going to do it however the hell I
mm.
want to do it. Which is a very hot headed, like young way to think about these things. It doesn't necessarily, but then you also have to deal with the ramifications after you get off of set stage.
Right, right. Well, in your
So,
case, you're playing on some pretty big stages, so it's audience, conductor, reviewers.
don't worry about them.
Wow, wow, wow.
But you
Well,
try to do it justice, regardless of who is listening or if no one is listening. To try to still be authentic to
mm,
what the work is, especially if it has like a narrative through line or a programmatic through line for the composer, and they've shared that with you to try to still find a way to capture that and honor that, and also honor yourself, like your own kind of innate like musical instincts.
Yeah, making. I think you hit on it. You said making choices. At some point, you have to make some choices yourself, and this. I think that decision making process it takes us deeper into the piece,
Hmm.
but it raises. I think it raises our level of technique. It raises what we're listening to because we're making the decision. And yeah, when you're younger, you're like, it's hard for that balance, like listening to the composer or the teacher or whatever, and then balancing that with my own something that I bring to it. And you were mentioning your younger self, which will lead us into our last question here because I want to honor our time here. And if there's any comments from the listening audience here, you can chime in. We'll see if maybe we get a question answered. But what what advice would you give to your younger self at any point in the journey? Not just it could be beginner, college, whatever. What's your number one, like, oh man, I would do this differently, or I would try to do this a little bit better to push my cello progress along.
Yeah, I've had this question delivered to me many times, and I'm
It's a
like,
good
what can
one.
I say that's actually a little fresher, not the same thing I say all the time. I think well, there's many ways I can answer this, but I think for now, I would probably say to really try to kind of trust and believe in kind of my like innate sense of self within like playing the cello, and that it doesn't have to be, I don't have to try to be like the other cellists, and there's like no one way, to play, like to fully truly play the instrument. There's a bedrock of foundations that informs and helps cultivate your technique, not the technique, but your technique in playing the instrument, and really trusting that, and remembering that you will get better, and you do grow over time. And I think your toolkit of technique and expression um, will grow. And I think try not to kind of chase what other sounds there are, other ways
Mm,
of playing and trying to be that, because I think you only will be kind of like a second rate of that person and not
mm,
necessarily you. And
right.
I think many cellists probably struggle with this early on, and trying to kind of just latch onto something, or trying to replicate an interpretation or a sound of something they heard in a recording or live, but they don't know necessarily why that cellist made those choices, but they're going for that thing, and they never quite get fully to that version of it that they heard. And that's because you're not them. And you should really be you and come up with your version that can very much so be informed by what you've heard, but they've done a different level of digging and exploration that you haven't quite necessarily gotten to yet.
Hmm. If I could ask one more, because this has come up in my own past, thinking about this, and it doesn't just happen when you're making artistic musical choices. It happens when you're making choices about the learning itself, like how to learn, like what should I be practicing or
Mm.
how should I be practicing. If somebody's, insecure like I was and feeling indecisive, I mean, what are there any well, this is an open-ended question. Another easy question. What could one do to start to gain some confidence in making some decisions about what they feel is
Mm.
true to them in terms of like how do you start to go down that path if you're just deathly afraid deathly afraid of it?
Yeah. I think the first question, that is something I post in master classes, I post with my students all the time, especially, because you're not the same every single day. Some days
Hmm.
or weeks, like you're just rocking and it's like everything's working. Yes, yes, yes. And then other days you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Engineering pre-med, here I come.
But it's the thing, like asking. I pose this, like, who were you when you first got into this thing, and why did you
Hmm.
get into
Hmm.
playing? Like when you really decided, oh, I really love playing the cello, and like you've stuck with it long enough. Okay, so it's now become part of your identity. Not necessarily okay. is going to become my career, but the thing, like, you really enjoyed playing this instrument, whatever it is. It doesn't have to necessarily be very cello centric, but like go back to that moment of who that person was and like why
Mm,
did you get into this thing? Where was like what was the draw factor of joy for that? The other side of that
wow.
is find works that really speak to you.
Hmm,
Like find works, even if it's just you listening to recordings and you just listen to them over and over, like what work like draws you in,
hmm,
or what performance draws you in from, and then from also from what work, like what is exciting about that thing that like gives you like those butterflies or those that like it makes your skin, or your hair stand up. What works are those? And I would say go for some of those works. Obviously if the technical facility is not necessarily fully there
right.
yet, find one that you are that's aligned with you for where you are, and then start to really dig into those works, because it's like, there's so much music out there, there's so much for the cello, that you don't have to feel like I have to play like all of like the standard canonical works. You can find the one specifically inside of that, or also outside of that, to kind of really start to lean into, and really start to find your way and find bits of that that kind of really bring excitement and make you continue to come back to the instrument day after
Hmm,
day.
wow. That that is such great advice. It's come up twice here on the channel. Um, this kind of like shame that we sometimes feel because we don't know something, right? There's all these people around us
Mm-hmm,
and they know a lot, and we see all the people that know a lot, and we have this kind of self-induced shame about like, oh, I don't know how to do something yet, or I didn't learn something fast enough. And I know that I'll be thinking about what you said. I'll be chewing on that for a while. I was like, can we go back to a time when we were shameless, right? We didn't have
mm-hmm,
this. We were fresh to it. We weren't thinking about all the things we didn't know because we didn't know anything. So
mm-hmm.
there was no comparison, and so that is gold right there that you just heard from Seth Parker Woods. Everyone, it is a wonderful one of the best things you're ever going to hear on this channel. Actually, yeah, it's fantastic. It's so good. Well, new album out today. Go listen to it. Listen to all of Rachmaninoff, not just the third movement. Listen to my new favorite piece by George Walker, and of course, these amazing, amazing songs that you recorded with Julia Bullock and Connor Hannock. They are really, really, really fantastic. Really incredible stuff. Any parting words for the audience here? And thank you so much for being here. This is just such a treat. It's so incredible. I do these selfishly for myself because I love having these conversations so much. I mean, I really, really do. So anyway, thank you for doing it.
No,
Last
I think,
last
yeah.
last thought here. Cello,
No.
performance, music, anything you want.
No, just thank you for having me. Thank you for kind of using your platform to kind of share this music. It's so special,
Absolutely.
and it's kind of been
Absolutely.
a long time coming for me, and it's a very special record in comparison to all the records I've recorded before. So it's like one that comes. I would say they all come deeply from the heart, but this one really like
Oh wow.
comes from a deep place that goes back over 20 years ago.
Oh wow.
Um,
Well, you can tell in
so
the
it.
playing. It's fantastic. Yeah, you can
Yeah,
tell. You can tell in the music making. Yeah, it's really wonderful. So,
so enjoy it. It's all yours now. It's no longer mine.
well, we will look forward to the next one. All right, we will have you back when the next album comes out because you
Yeah,
said there's
it's
several to
coming.
come. Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you check out the links in the description for everything that we were talking about. Thanks for being here.